Hi, Grandma here, and I'm reading The Golden Goblet, beginning chapter 10, and it's a very long chapter, so I won't be finishing it today. The following midday, Ranofer was the first to reach the little green room in the thicket. Heqet appeared only a moment later. "What news?" Ranofer asked breathlessly. "A great deal." Heqet flung himself down and began to divide his food as he talked. "I've discovered an excellent place to watch Wenamon's house. He lives near his shop, in the street of the Masons, which is only one street away from the street of the goldsmiths. Well, there's an alley behind the apprentices' quarters." "Greetings to you, fellow spies. Seen any hangings lately?" The ancient's seamed face peered through the fringe of reeds, and his one eye rolled from Ranofer to Heqet with an expression of exaggerated stealth. And he mentioned the hanging because that's when he first met Ranofer, was at a public hanging for people who were tomb thieves, tomb robbers. "Greetings, ancient. Come in and listen. Heqet has much to tell us. Go on, Heqet." "Well, there is an alley behind the apprentices' quarters, which runs directly behind Wenamon's house, too. I discovered this last evening as I was prowling about the place. And in this alley, just a short distance from Wenamon's rear wall, is a straggly old dom palm tree. And from the branches of this tree, I can see directly over Wenamon's wall and into his courtyard. He has a wife with a voice like a hyena." The ancient cackled, and Ranofer leaned eagerly closer. "Well, go on. What did you see?" "I saw Wenamon come home from his work. I saw his wife give him barley beer and set his food before him, nagging all the while. He had salted waterfowl and bread and onions for his meal. His wife ate what was left when he had finished." "But did he go out after the meal?" "Nay, he sat in the courtyard." "Oh, then did someone come to see him?" "Nay," Heqet confessed. "He did not do anything at all last evening, but I could see him perfectly. He was in my sight the entire time. No doubt this evening something will happen. Then I will watch it all from my tree. It is an excellent thing to have discovered such a good place." Aye, it is," Ranofer agreed, but he could not summon as much enthusiasm as Heqet seemed to expect. Boiled down, Heqet's story was the same as his own. Nothing whatever had happened. "And you, ancient?" Heqet said. "Did you find Setma last evening?" I found him. He was at the sailmaker's when my lotus and I brought our papyrus. I kept my eye on him a while. He went to a wine shop, bought his food, and ate it. Then he walked across the mud to his vessel and went aboard. You can be sure he took no trip to Abydos or anywhere else. No vessel can move now until blessed Osiris rises and the Nile comes back to life. Possibly he entertained a few calves or devils in his cabin later, but I did not stay to see. My lotus and I went home to our little house and rested our old bones." Again, nothing. "Well," Ranofer asked himself angrily, "what did you expect after one evening? Patience, stupid one. These things take time. Something will happen this evening or perhaps tomorrow." Nothing did, however. A week passed during which neither Gabu nor Wenamon did anything more suspicious than walk to some wine shop after the evening meal, or gamble at hounds and jackals with some crony in the privacy of their own courtyards. Setma's movements were even less interesting whenever the ancient took time to spy on him. Ranofer found the whole thing very discouraging, but Heqet's interest never flagged. He seemed rather to increase. "They are lying low," he told Ranofer one midday. "They are purposely avoiding one another. Wait and see. There is some deep reason behind it, and we'll find what it is soon. Keep watch. Something is sure to happen any day now." At last something did. Several days after the river began to rise, Gabu went out one evening with Ranofer doggedly behind him and struck straight across the city of the dead instead of turning toward Mutra's wine shop as usual. Ranofer grew more and more excited as he followed Gabu's twistings and turnings, more and more cautious too as he noticed that Gabu often looked behind him in a not quite convincingly casual manner. Surely something was afoot this time. Ranofer was certain of it when he realized they were nearing the street of the Masons, and almost choked with excitement when he saw Gabu turn in at Wenamon's gate. "Oh, I must find that tree," he thought. "Heqet will be there and we can watch together. Perhaps we can even hear them plotting." There was no way to pass from the street of the Masons into the alley behind it except to pass through one of the houses, or else go around by the next cross street. After considerable fuming hesitation as to whether he should leave his post, Ranofer decided to risk it. He ran for the four corner as hard as he could run, worrying all the while over the possibility that Gabu and Wenamon might walk out the front gate and be gone before he could find them. A glance back from the corner showed the long street still empty. He dashed on around the corner, down the cross street, hurtled into the alley, and was triumphantly sprinting toward the tree when just beyond it, a door in the wall opened without warning, and Gabu and Wenamon stepped out. Ranofer stopped so abruptly that a little cloud of dust rose from his skidding feet, and he almost lost his balance. They had not looked at his direction yet, but in no time at all they would. Frantically, he groped to the wall beside him, clutched a latch, and pushed. In an instant, he was inside some stranger's courtyard. In another instant, a dog was rushing toward him, giving tongue as he came. Ranofer turned in a panic to the wall again, seized a branch of some creeper, and with the aid of a toehold in the roughness of the plaster, pulled himself a few inches above the dog's snapping jaws. This still looked frighteningly close. He took a better grip on the vine and loosed one foot to search for a wider crack. The moment he moved, the vine began to pull away from the wall. He froze. One more moment and he would fall straight on top of the dog, or else Gabu would open the gate and find him. In that minute, some dark object sailed over his head, and the dog, snarling, changed to an offended yelp. Another object followed. This time, Ranofer heard the chunk as it hit, and the dog howled and made off across the courtyard. "Ranofer!" came an urgent whisper from somewhere above. "Come out, quick! They've gone!" Ranofer dropped to the ground, staggered with relief and treacherously numbed toes, flung himself out of the gate and closed it. As he leaned against it, panting, Heqet dropped from the branches of the dan palm and ran toward him. "Hurry, they've gone that way. We can still follow and keep them in sight." What did you do to that dog?" Ranofer gasped as Heqet pulled him relentlessly down the alley. "Oh, I threw Dom nuts at him. I could see everything that happened. I knew they were coming out that back gate, and I thought they'd catch you for sure. Come this way. There they are ahead of us. Lucky for you, I could see into the courtyard where the dog was as well as I could see into Wenamon's." "Where were you going so fast?" "I was coming to join you." They had slowed down now, and Ranofer's breath was beginning to return. "I followed Gabu to the street of the Masons, saw him go in." "Well, it's turned out well enough this time," as the ostrich said when he swallowed the melon. "But there had better not be a next. That was too close for my peace of mind." "Oh, mine too. Still, I'm glad I'm not hiding beside the front gate, still waiting for them to come out. Look, they're turning toward the shop." "Gabu's shop? Aye, it's just yonder. We'd best get out of sight." A minute. They ceased whispering and flattened themselves into a shadow. A little way down the dusk-filled street, they could see Gabu and Wenamon pause at the door of the stone-cutting shop, and after a moment go inside. "Maybe Setma will come now," Heqet whispered. "Maybe this is their meeting place." Setma did not come, however. After a while, a torch flared inside the shop, and they could see it moving in a leisurely way here and there. It stayed some time in the squirrel room, then flickered toward the place where Ranofer knew the judge's coffin stood. "It's only some manner of business," Ranofer said, disappointed. "The judge's entrance passage is too narrow for his coffin, or the other way around. I heard Gabu speak of it once. That's all they're talking about now. This has nothing to do with the gold stealing." Heqet sighed. After lingering a few minutes longer, he said rather lamely, "Well, we've done all we can do today," as one locust said to another. "Perhaps tomorrow." The two boys separated and went their way. Again, nothing had happened. The Nile rose freely in the next few weeks, and in spite of the relentless heat, the gloom of the god's death was gone from Egypt, and the joy of his rebirth was in every man's speech, walk, and brightened eye. Navigation began again on the river, and the pace of life quickened. Except that he shared the deep relief of his fellow Egyptians at the river's rising. Ranofer's life did not change. For a time, he and Heqet doggedly continued their spying and reporting to each other, and the ancient joined in when he could. The old man could not come often to the little green room nowadays because he was cutting his papyrus in a distant part of the marsh, and the sailmakers demanded bigger loads each day in the season of boat building and refitting. Occasionally, though, his seamed old face would appear through the curtain of reeds, and with his cheerful cackle and his "Seen any hangings lately?" he would come in and share his food with them. He kept a faithful, if intermittent, eye on Setma, too. The riverman had begun regular trips up and down the Nile now. The ancient always made them laugh with his mock solemn reports, but he never found out anything. Probably, Ranofer reflected, because there was nothing to find out. He himself was fast losing all faith in the spine. Never had Gabu behaved so innocently. Never had a man seemed so devoted to his courtyard and nagging wife as Wenamon. Occasionally the two met at Butra's or at the stone-cutting shop to study the scrolls, and presumably to confer for long periods over the building plans. Neither went anywhere near a gold house or appeared to be acquainted with so much as a goldsmith's apprentice. Gabu was not stealing anything, that was all. He was doing nothing whatever but live a stonecutter's routine life. No doubt Pharaoh had paid more than usual for the temple work. Whatever the explanation, the continuing signs of wealth were not due to stolen gold. And I'm going to stop here, and I'll continue later. Bye-bye.